Open to her more and more in our journey in integral yoga. In integral yoga, we hear of consciousness all the time, and we need to understand what consciousness itself means. In integral yoga, consciousness, as Aurobindo has said, is fundamental reality. That is, everything is consciousness. Everything that we see, hear, think, material, immaterial, everything is consciousness. If that is the case, how is it that we experience consciousness in a very limited way? That is because of involution that has happened, and the divine himself has come into being in all layers of consciousness, and when it entered the earth plane is when it became completely involved. For the same reason, to evolve again, to see himself in all planes of consciousness is his way upward. So when we say we want to become conscious, what is it that wants to become conscious again? It is the divine. The divine that has come into the earth place and have become inconscient himself wants to become conscious again. So the tricky part here is, the divine wants to become conscious, and he is becoming conscious through us. That is where our cooperation with him lies. We need to participate in his evolution. Isn't that intriguing? Yeah, it is. Divine wants to know himself, and we have to cooperate in it. Now, how do we give our cooperation to the divine? How do we become conscious? This is our topic for today. Whether we become conscious and participate or not, the evolution is going to happen as it is happening in eons, and it has come to this stage that we are experiencing. So, from the mineral to plant kingdom to animal kingdom to the human, it has evolved. Where do we go from human is our question before us. So all of us have read a bit of Aurobindo and the Mother, and he has spoken of Superman, supramental consciousness. And it seems so overwhelming for us when we hear that we have to evolve through all layers of consciousness, we have to deepen it, heighten it, widen it. So where do we start? And reading Mother, we've heard that she always told us to start from near to far. So whatever we are experiencing near to us will become a starting point. So first, we experience everything through our physical. So how do we infuse consciousness into our physical? First of all, we have to keep observing ourselves, which happens, mind helps us to observe ourselves. So we observe from what we do with the physical. The moment we wake up, what do we do? The kind of food we eat, the kind of exercise that we do to keep it going. And how do we eat? How do we sleep? How do we walk? Everything that we do with the physical itself is infusing awareness into our conscious living. So the main thing here is bringing awareness. God wants to become aware of Himself, and if we are going to participate in it, we are going to infuse that awareness into our conscious living. We start with our physical and the kind of food that we eat that helps our body, and the kind of sleep that we give so that it nourishes it, and the exercise that we give so that it is in good condition. All this we do for awareness, bringing the divine out. It's not just like there are so many fads that is coming up, and like, you shouldn't eat that, you shouldn't eat this, you shouldn't do that. That it becomes so confusing, because there's so many nutritionists who have come who gives us different advices, and there's so many doctors, and there's a lot of confusion happening. So, how do we steer ourselves through these confusions? This is where we have to start listening to our body. The whole modern age has really disconnected from what we are. So, we tend to read a lot, listen a lot. To add to our confusions is the new age technology, which we can use it either for our benefit of growth or to the benefit of confusions that's already created. So, first and foremost, we should learn to listen to ourselves, to that thing that is deep within us. It intimates us. So, the more we start listening to the mind, it plays tricks with us. The same thing that is said today can become a contrary addiction tomorrow. It can be exactly opposite to what we have told today it is the good thing to do, and after a few years the same scientists, the same doctors would say no, the new theory has come and this is not good. So the first thing is start listening to your body. It gives you indications, it gives you signs. Then from that intimation we would know what is good for us exactly. What might be good for me may not be good for the other person. So there is no standard thing that this is the exactly the right thing to eat or the right proportion to it. Your body tells it, and we should start listening to it. Initially, it might be very difficult, but the more you start quietening yourself and listening, you will understand the intimations of the body. So we have to cultivate listening to our body. The same happens with the mind and the vital also. You have to observe your mind, for which you have to distance yourself from the mind. If you are identified with the mind, then we wouldn't know to discriminate and discern. We should start distancing from the mind and observe what it is saying. Who is it that observing the mind also we can question ourselves. If we can distance ourselves from the mind, it means the mind is not supreme. There is something that is seeing the mind. So we have to listen to that thing that sees the mind also. So when you start seeing the mind, you will understand that it gives such contrary indications again. Sometimes the mind itself is fighting with itself. It has one day you start thinking this is the right thing to do, and the next day itself you feel no, it's not the right thing. Why again? The same confusion that's causing to the body is causing to the mind also. So we have to start distancing ourselves, which means we start living within. Most of the time we are an outer personality. We tend to listen to people around, to our WhatsApp messages, and to all that the media tells you. And these all forms as constructions, and they start playing in your mind, which we start taking as truth. But truth consciousness never displays in that way. It is very quiet, smooth, and it intimates us from within. So this is the way we start disciplining our mind, and same with our emotions also, with our feelings, impulsions. Feelings are very delicate because we are always in relationships. We have We deal with different people in our relationships. We deal differently with our father, mother, spouse, grandchildren, children. So it's each relationship, how we feel about it, and what is it that is impelling in a certain way to act or feel is again something we should start observing. So there are three parts that we have to observe: physical, our vital, and our mind. What creates a disharmony is that each of these parts wants to assert themselves. They want to dominate. The physical sometimes refuses. You know that it's good to get up in the morning, go for a walk. But then what happens is you don't want to go because the physical refuses to cooperate. Same thing happens with the mind. It wants to assert itself. It wants you to act in a certain way only. And the vital also, the emotions. No, I feel bad today. I feel, and I'm justified in my feeling so and so way. So you have to act in so and so way. The mind is hijacked by the vital. So you usually follow your emotions. We think that we do logical things, but most often, if we examine carefully, we are being driven by our vitals, our emotions, our feelings. That makes us act in a certain way. Sometimes, even though in corporate fields they say we are very mentally trained and we take decisions very separate from feelings, no, most often that is the ego that acts there, which is again impelled by your strong vital impulsions. So, for us, most important in integral yoga is to be aware of the parts of the being. We have these three parts: the emotions, the mind, and the physical. Unless we work on integrating them and bringing them together, we'll always be pulled in different directions. You don't want to do a certain thing, but then you feel, no, I better get away. Let me do this for this time. No, there is no this time. You have to integrate all three. And how do we do that? We do that only when we distance ourselves and establish our contact with our psychic being, the divine within, the true consciousness, which tells us what to do. And most often, it doesn't give different indications to mind, body, and the vital. It will give you the right indication in the right direction because it is the divine. It wants perfection, it wants beauty, and it wants us to happen through us, through humans. And when I say participation, this is where our participation comes. Participation in a simple pointers that I have come up with in trying to work all this in my lifetime or in my sadhana, I can tell you is one thing: for everything there is a choice. For every decision that we make, there is a choice before us. What is the choice we are going to take? It might be difficult. For people around us, it might seem very, it might look that we are very arrogant or very selfish or self centered, and they give new names of narcissistic and all that. But no, when you feel that deep within this is the right thing to do, is when you should start acting upon it. Because the divine grace has come to you and given an indication. It's no mean thing to just slight it and say, no, for this time I'll do this, and next time, no, you have lost an opportunity. So the choice that we make, however difficult it might seem on the surface, is when we are moving one step towards the divine. This will become our conscious living. Most often we tend to justify our acts because vital is so strong and impelling, and it can seem very troublesome not to listen to it. But here, the simple pointer would be whatever seems very compulsive is not the right thing to do. It is like a blanket statement. What seems very obsessive and compulsive for you to do is not the right thing to do, because the vital is pushing you there. You have to step back. Mother has repeatedly told us about this stepping back thing like a mantra. No decision should be taken without stepping back. Mother has even gone to an extent of saying, don't even talk a word without stepping back. Forget about taking a decision. She said, every simple thing you do in your life is for you to step back. What does this step back means? It's not a simple new age life coach telling you that do this, not to do this. So mother also told us to step back. No, stepping back means she is asking you to contact with your psychic, with your deep within. Go into that contact, and we might think, then how is it possible every minute in our life and there's so many things happening? How do I keep in contact? One contact will you do, one thing is the first step. Through the day, once we do that we are actually catching that thing, it can make the link towards being more and more in that consciousness. So we have to consciously start somewhere and then take it forward every day. How many days, when you review by the evening, how many times today could I step back and then act from that consciousness? So this is how we build our contact with the psychic. That will be our guiding force. So there's no big lectures or a difficulty, and because if we talk too much also we tend to get confused. This one thing of contact with the psychic itself will lead us on the path and make us conscious. Somebody asked the mother, how do we do sadhana? Mother said, simply become conscious. What is this becoming conscious? Being aware, being awake, always, always. It's not possible. Many times we tend to forget, but that shouldn't be an impediment, or it shouldn't be like, you shouldn't become crestfallen. You should be in that consciousness. I will always try, because this is a yoga of perfection, and we are on journey towards it. And then there will be thorns in the path, there will be obstructions, there will be numerous things that might happen, but the will to go forward is important. Mother has emphasized repeatedly on the will. First of all, you must agree to do it. That is the first step. And then start working on it from all levels of our being that we are aware of, conscious of. So it shouldn't be like, today I do this and tomorrow, no, I can't. Today I will give it a holiday. No, you have to repeatedly work on yourself, because you are working to become consciousness, coming closer to the divine. If that is ingrained in your consciousness, that will lead you to live consciously. So the attitude that we take here is very important. The choice and the identification, these three are the important pointers, because with what are you identifying yourself with is very important. What is that is guiding you? What identification are you taking? Which side of identification? There'll always be two before you. With what do you want to identify yourself is a question you have to ask yourself repeatedly. This is where the choice comes. So as I said, I'm emphasizing again, choice, identification and attitudes matter a lot. What kind of attitudes is whenever we've done workshops, I've always brought up mother's symbol. It has everything in it. They have given us such easy ways to work yourself with. No other yoga I've seen. I'm not discounting on any other yogas. They're all useful for you to become awake and conscious. But here, in a symbolized form, very easily, Mother has given us sincerity, honesty, perseverance, patience. Everything is there. Goodwill, goodness, gladness. All these attitudes we should cultivate within ourselves. Now, how do we cultivate these attitudes? Is when you look upon your different parts of your being, you try and work with one attitude, and then like, suppose if you take up honesty or something, how honest I am to my physical, how honest I am to my mental, how honest I am to my vital feelings. This actually takes you to the depth of your being. If we start with one attitude itself, it spills into other attitudes, honesty, perseverance, everything. We are going to persevere with an honesty, with our paths of being. So, and most important here is the peaceful attitude that you should take with yourself. The indication here, as I said, indication, attitude, and identification. The indication that you're not at peace is the moment you feel that ruffle with yourself, that disturbance, something has entered into you. It should be your first identification. Oh, you have identified that something has really entered into you, it's disturbing your consciousness. And now you have to work on removing it from yourself. How do you do it? Removing will become a difficulty, as Mother and Aurobindo has told us. You infuse your higher consciousness, so that this is gone. The darkness that is inside has to be lit up. How? With the light of higher consciousness. So that is how we are going to put light on this, which is, in this case, if it is disturbance, how do we bring light into it? By becoming peaceful. So initially it can be a mental thing. Now you sit down and you invoke peace. You're invoking peace, which means you're invoking Divine Mother, because she's that, she's peace, she's harmony. So you are invoking peace into your disturbed being. So it can't be again a rattled one like, I want peace now, I want peace now. No, calm yourself. You have to calm. That will become the foundation for our opening to the divine consciousness. Without peace, there's nothing that we can build upon. Becoming conscious is only when you can establish that peace, that shanti within yourself in all your layers. Even if we want to meditate, first we have to invoke that peace, shanti, and sit. When we say we have to collect ourselves, that is what it means before we sit for meditation. If we disperse ourselves, we are not going to be concentrated. So this is the foundation, and we have to work on peace. When we work on this peace is when you will start looking with some distance, any disturbance that comes into your periphery or within you. And then you will start working on dissolving it. The peace itself dissolves it in a certain stage, and then you can become a better rational person. Because forget about being in higher true consciousness. If you are disturbed, you cannot be a rational person in the first place. Because the vital is pushing you, you're reacting with it. So this is where it is very important that we take up one attitude and work on it on different layers of our being, for which peace has to become a foundation in ourselves. We have to work very strictly on it. And when we come to the attitudes, another thing along with peace is perseverance. I would always look at Mother's symbol, and for easy remembrance, I will like 3 P's that I want: peace, perseverance, patience. These 3 I keep writing in my book, and where have I failed in this at the end of the day? There will be numerous times I would have fumbled over it, but then again make a note and start again. So this is how we start. When we start this is when our cleansing of our consciousness happens, which is layered with constant contacts with outside world, it is, we can say, literally covered with dust. And now what we are working upon is clearing that so we can reflect him who's inside us, seated, waiting for that reflection. So these attitudes, identification, and choices present to us at every step of our life, from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to sleep, this is what we are facing. And one more thing is here, when we make this a mental thing, it becomes very difficult to do it. It's like we are grappling with trying to be peaceful, trying to be calm. So, what we have to do is try and open ourselves to the divine. Every day, this should become our constant conscious practice. So, unaware, most of the cleansing will be happening, and we extend it into the real life with our mental awareness. Whatever we spoke of now, we bring it to our mental awareness and then work on it for the outer life. But when we have to clean, because it is not this just this life that is embedded within us. We are a product of many lives. There's so many things that we are not aware of. What we are aware of is just a grain of what we should open ourselves to. The divine splendor itself is overwhelming. It is, you can't even speak in words of what is awaiting for us. So we have to constantly open ourselves to the divine for it to cleanse us, because we have all the we are products of evolution, and we have the inertness of a mineral and that quiet of the plant and the vital natures of animals within us. So all of it has to be cleansed. Mainly, it will be the vital that will become a big problem for us. So when we notice our reactions, we see most of it is very animalistic. Like if an animal is meddled with, what does it do? It reacts immediately. It doesn't wait for a response and say, okay, this person didn't know how to deal with me, so I'll wait and I won't attack him. It's nothing like that. If it is threatened, it is going to react. So that is the main thing that we do to ourselves. Our vital becomes a big problem for human beings. That has to be disciplined. When we say discipline, if we exercise control on it, it becomes a suppression. So how do we shouldn't suppress it. Vital should have its fair play, but we should work on transforming it. The whole yoga is transformation or yoga, and then we should work on transforming our vital by opening to the divine and let the light flow into it. The moment we, each time that we tend to react, you have again become, you have put a step back. So the stepping back is to collecting yourself and then responding to it only in divine light. This is a practice that we have to do in our conscious participation. This becomes the main conscious living that we have to do as an offering to the mother. And for this, Mother has given us mantras of surrender, rejection, aspiration. Most importantly, aspiration is something we are not doing. It is the divine in us that aspires. Aspiration is divine. That is the aspiration. The moment you feel for the divine, it is the divine feeling for itself. So this is a beautiful thing that we have, that it feels so good that we know her, that we can aspire her. What more do you want? This aspiration is something that is going to cleanse us. Totally, we have to keep aspiring, aspiring, and aspiring. And as Mother said, the second step of surrendering to her. Not Surrendering again, we cannot say that we have surrendered and sit quiet. This is where our participation, of conscious participation, comes in. So this is whatever we have spoke to so long is when you surrender, it is only when you have faltered unconsciousness, when you have slipped into that unconsciousness, immediately wake up to it and then surrender it to her, taking a resolution that you would not repeat it. It might happen, but you don't do it in a conscious awareness. If it happens, okay, still I'm unconscious and I need to work upon it, and then I offer it to the mother. That's how we work on surrender part. And rejection. The third thing, rejection, is where you don't bring in the dirt again where you have cleansed. What is the point if you're going to spill the dirt on where if the mirror is kept clean and I'm going to put dirt on it, how long it's going to be there wherever it is, it's not going to progress. So rejection becomes an important part of integral yoga, because the moment when you are in this sadhana, you know that this is the intimation comes naturally, it comes, you're all aware that this should be rejected, however difficult it might seem on the surface. If it has to be rejected and not in conjunction with the true consciousness, you should take that courage and reject it. This is how the progress happens in the sadhana. This is where the vigilance comes. Mother has spoken of vigilance in two ways. She said, yes, you reject what is not good for your consciousness. At the same time, you should be open that you understand what comes to help you in your sadhana. You accept that and take it up and practice it. So it's not just rejecting alone, but again being aware that something, life will always keep giving you opportunities, and you open yourself to the opportunities and work on it and grow in that consciousness. So vigilance is important, but at the same time, in what way we are applying it to our life is where we are becoming conscious. And then there is this self-review. It is not, this self-review is not again to become discouraged that I am not able to do mother's yoga, I am again falling back and all that. But this is to offer to her whatever difficulties in your path, and then take firm resolutions of what you want to be. The self-review should reveal to you the purpose and goal of your life. What is it that you want to do with your life? We are aware of the mother and Sri Aurobindo. What have they asked us as followers of them is to become conscious. And so this self-review should be always, am I progressing in the direction of my purpose and my goal? That is the kind of self-review we are going to do to ourselves. All this again points to how we are observing and discerning and taking decisions. This might seem like a big process, but once we are in it, it becomes automatic. Right now we are automatic in the way of our mechanical life. But once we start this work of looking into our consciousness, then it becomes, we become the new automatic machines of the mother and Sri Aurobindo. We don't become automatic mechanical people of animalistic attitudes, but we become their instruments when we start working in this direction. So the purpose, goal, choices, identification, attitudes, these are all the important pointers in helping us to live consciously. One more thing, there is, when we're talking about just our daily life and how we have to become conscious, there are multiple layers of consciousness which Sri Aurobindo has spoken about. For this also, we can also use our sleep as a medium to become more conscious. Whenever we go to sleep, it is this prayer and this attitude that praying to her that to help us become conscious in our waking and even sleeping state. Offer it to her. Use everything that you can to open and become conscious. Your sleep, your food, your walk, your exercise, the way of thinking, your way of feeling, everything, if it is offered, that is the consciousness that we are going to offer to her. It is not, we are not doing any benefit to the mother. We are making our lives simple. All the so called miseries and feelings, bad attitudes, whatever we are suffering through is because of our unconsciousness. Life, Srivalli mother has said, it is Satyam Shivam and Sundaram. It's beauty, it's harmony, it's truth. So we are not doing any benefit to anybody. We are doing benefit to ourselves and the lives that we are going to live in future. So it is for our own sake that we are doing. It's nothing, and mother is there to help us, and we are so very blessed to have them. To link from within to outside is something that this beautiful yoga has offered us. We don't have to go run anywhere for anything, but just with these simple things that we can actually feel the divine. How beautiful is this yoga that you can feel them in everyday life, every moment, every thought, everything that you do, you feel the divine. Where else do you get such an opportunity? In which yoga have we heard of this? So this is our prayer and offering to her, and I am offering this to you all, and then I pray that you all do the same. The new year, we have stepped into 2025, and looking back, what have we done and what do we plan to do in future is something should be holding us all the time and impelling us to walk and live and sleep and wake up and do everything in their consciousness. Namaste. One more thing I want to bring up here is, right now our country is going through major crisis, whether we are aware of it or not. All seems okay on the outside, but it is always, the crisis is, as we know, if we know Srivalli the mother, it's the more the light comes in, the more the darkness, the dark forces also act upon us. That is where we should all become instruments of the mother. So this is offering to her and to our nation also. We are so lucky to be born in India that we have a bedrock of culture that helps us towards divine direction. Many other countries, many people, they don't know, they work through their mental, and it's very difficult for them. We have spoken so much of offering, it is very difficult for them to offer and to let them go, because ego is always a barrier. They talk so much about individuality, and that individuality becomes a barrier which is essential. At the same time, for your growth it becomes a barrier, because you start asserting through your ego always. When somebody asked of mother, how do we get rid of ego? She said, if you get rid of ego, you're not existent anymore. You're one with the universe. So it is such a difficult thing to get rid of, but we can always offer to the mother. And when I was saying this, what helps us here is our nation is given a culture that it is easy for us to open, not get into mental constructions. It's easy for us to open to the divine. But with what spirit we open ourselves to the divine is important. And right now we see so much happening in Pakistan, Afghanistan, and all our neighboring countries, and where we stand as Indians also. I request you always, when we talk of the mother also, we should always remember what India has given us, the Bharat Mata, and offer our prayers to her also. She is striving so much for our spiritual upliftment. This Mata, who is the Divine Mother incarnation. Our country is meant to be a spiritual country. That is her purpose in this world. Every country has its own purpose. India's purpose is this, and which means we that is our purpose, Indians for us. So we should never forget what is given. Be thankful to her. Open ourselves to Mother India, and then always what got us freedom is Vande Mataram. Not Janagana Mana, it is Vande Mataram that got us the freedom. Whoever is read Aurobindo is aware of this. I feel that it should include in our prayers, whatever pray every day, that should become a cry for all of us, for her to bring and kindle that in every Indian. So, Archana, can we play that before?
Sujalam sufalam malayaj shitalam Shashamalam mataram Vande mataram Vande mataram Jyotsna pulakitarayamini Ulla kusumita drumagala shobhini Suhasini, Sumadura Bhashini, Sukhalam Varadam Mataram, Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram, Venshakoti Kanta, Kalakala Vinada Karale, Vishakoti Pujayakrita Karakarale Opalakatupakatmole Dukuvalatarini Namami Karini Triputalaparini Mataram Vande Mataram Vande Mataram Tumi Vedya Tumi Karma Tumi karma, Tumi vidya, Tumi karma, Tumi hridi, Tumi karma, Tumi prana sharire, Tumi shakti, Hidaya Tumi mabhakti, Bhakti Tumi shakti. Hidaya Tumi mabhakti Tumhari Tumi Bhakti Mandire Mandire Tumhi Durga Dashakarana Karini Kamala Kamala Gala Viharini Kani Vidya Rayini Nami Namami Kamalam Kamalam Agulam Sujalam Supalam Mataram Vande Mataram Vande Mataram Shalom Salam Susalam Tushikam Taranim Taranim Mataram Vande Mataram Vande Mataram Vande Mataram
Doesn't this sound like Lalita Sahasranama? This is the mantra given for our nation. And we should always, in respect and gratitude, remember this as a prayer. Thank you.